Welcome to the Stripe Payments Course. I'm your instructor Gregory John, and in this course we'll learn how to integrate a powerful SaaS payment solution into our Bubble apps using Stripe. Stripe is a powerful payment gateway offering a really wide range of products and services. It supports various integration methods from fully coded solutions like Python or Node.js to no-code options that require little technical knowledge. In this course, we'll take the middle approach by using the API connector in Bubble to build our integrations. While Bubble does have an official Stripe plugin, it's actually currently being revamped and is expected to be re-released in early 2025. This course, however, will show you how to integrate Stripe in a way that gives you access to its full product suite. Course highlights include configuring Stripe for subscription management, building intuitive UI in Bubble for managing subscriptions, communicating with Stripe via webhooks, and reading and understanding Stripe documentation. Here's a checklist of the functionality that we'll be building. So there is a fair amount to cover, but let's just get started by creating a new app in Bubble and configuring some basic settings. So in Bubble, go ahead, create a new app, give it a name, and once you arrive at the screen, you may want to activate a free trial. So this course does require a paid plan, but you can start with a 14-day free trial. And you're going to need a paid plan to be able to complete this course because we'll be using functionality such as backend workflows and webhooks to configure this application. So go ahead and activate the free trial, or you can skip ahead and pay for a plan if you'd like to do that. So let's go ahead and configure a few settings before we get started building. Head over to your Styles tab, please. Go to Style Variables, and then select Inter as your app font. This is just a personal choice. Now I've gone ahead and already set up the colors for this build. Now this is a logic-based course. You might not be interested in setting up your styles exactly like mine, but I think it's quite nice to follow along and do exactly what I do, and we'll talk about UX in this course as well. So in the description, you'll find a link to this editor. It's open to everyone to be able to jump in, copy these colors across, or you can just manually edit these yourselves. I'm going to add 4 more color variables. The first one is going to be called dark primary. That will be used for hovers. The color of this will be 063EBF. Now we need 3 gray colors. I'm going to call the first one light gray. I'm going to use this for borders. The color will be E5, E5, E5. Now I'm going to say medium gray. These will be used for states. Either the state is active or it's not active, and when it's not active, it will be this color. We need to be able to read it, so it needs to be more of a medium gray. Color is A2, A7, AE. And the final color variable will be the dark gray, which we'll be using for body text. The color will be 47, 54, 67. Okay, and let's just spend a few minutes then heading over to our element styles to then quickly look at text inputs and buttons. Let's head down to text. Going to use 64 pixels in height for the heading 1. Line spacing will be 1.1. For the heading 2, going to choose 48 pixels. Semi-bold, 1.2 line spacing, and -1 letter spacing. This is how close together the letters are positioned. Let's configure a H3. It'll be 36 pixels. Semi-bold. Let's do our H4. To make this 30 pixels. Semi-bold. H5. We're just going to change this to semi-bold. Let's go to body, which is the default. Going to make that 16 pixels. Medium, and then we're going to use our dark gray. Our body large. That will be 18 pixels. Medium, dark gray. And folks, we just need one more here. So I'm going to take body, going to right click copy and paste. And then I'm going to change the naming to body small. Hit return, and let's change this to 14 pixels. Okay, that's text done. Now we're going to go over to the inputs. Here's a standard input. Going to change the font weight to 500. Placeholder text will be medium gray. The color will be light gray on the border with a roundness of 8. Then on the conditions tab, and to remove the hovered, we're going to keep the focus and we're going to keep the isn't valid. Okay, almost there, guys. Let's go to buttons. Let's go to our primary button. So our primary button has inherited our primary color. Going to change the font size to 14. Going to choose roundness of 8. Going to remove the outset. And on the conditions tab, we'll say when the button is hovered, let's change it to our dark primary. And I want to also configure an outline button. Change the size to 14. Outline button will have black text. We'll have a solid border with our border color. Roundness of 8. No outset. Actually, let's keep an outset for this. Let's choose vertical 2, blur radius 1, no spread radius. Box shadow color, choose our black, and choose 7%. You can see just a slight shadow there. I'm just going to actually change these. I'm going to choose vertical offset 1 and blur radius 2. Yeah, that looks a bit better. And when we hover it, it will be our surface color. Okay, now we need, the last thing we're going to do is on a link element. We've got a standard link. I want to design a link element so it looks like a button. So a common error I see bubblers making is that they are using buttons to navigate between pages where a link is faster and a link is better for SEO because it's a way that Google can accurately understand the sitemap of your particular app. So always use links where possible. I use links, but I design them to look like buttons because they just look better that way. So I'm going to right click, copy and paste the standard link. Okay. Change this to a button link name. Hit return, and let's design this. So it's going to be, let's say, semi-bold. Primary contrast font. Background style will be flat color. We're going to design this as if it's a primary button. There's our primary color. border roundness of 8. And let's put that text in the center. On the layout tab, we're going to choose left-right padding of 16 and 16. The height will be determined later. And when someone hovers this, instead of underlining the text, we're going to change the background color to our dark primary. Okay. And actually, while we're doing this, I want to do one more. So let's say this is button link primary. Guys, you can also copy and paste. You can right-click, copy and paste this into your app from my app if you want to save some time. The link is in the description. I'm going to do one more. Copy and paste on the button link primary. I'm going to choose secondary. Hit return. Change the color to black. Background to white. Border is going to be a solid gray, so light gray on the border. And then when someone hovers this link, we change it to, so the background is primary contrast. Okay, so when they hover this, we change it to the surface color. Done. Okay. That's all we're going to do for the styling at the moment. And guys, I think we can get building. So let me just quickly show you in the demo editor what we're building. It's a very simple sign up and login page because we need authenticated users to be able to run these workflows for this app. Okay, so this is what we're building, a very simple sign up element. And then we'll also have the ability for users to log in. Okay, I've designed a nice little logo for us to use. You can find the link in the description so that you can download this and use it in your app. Let's go ahead and create a new page. I'm going to call this auth for authentication because it's both sign up and login. Doesn't really matter what you call this page, but I think just follow along with me for the time being. Let's bring up the property editor. Let's first change this page title to Authentication. Now the name of our pretend app here is called Atlas. I noticed Stripe have a product called Atlas. I think it's a neat name. On the layout tab for your page, please change this to a column layout and change the builder width to 1200. It's just the area that we build within. Okay, let's do some building. I want you to click on Group in the Container section, drop it on the page, and rename this to Group Section. Once you've done that, remove the min width, and I want you to uncheck Fit Height to Content, so this group basically spans the full height of the page. And we can also remove the min height. I don't like to keep values that I'm not using. I want you to add some top and bottom padding of 96, 96, left-right padding of 32 and 32. Just gives us some space to work within. Now I want you to grab a group. We're going to design our sign-up form. So this is going to be called Group Sign-up. Okay, set a max width of 380, like so. Remove the min width because we're not using that setting. And for the height, let's make it 380 as well, so we've got a square. Over on the Appearance tab, let's detach the style. We're going to set up a new one. This will have a border style. We're going to use our borders color, light gray. Roundness of 8. On the Layout tab, I'm just going to firstly scroll down to the padding section. Choose 24 pixels of padding all the way around. And I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to choose gap spacing of 20. Let's grab some text to create our title. drop the text inside group signup. Let's say welcome to Atlas. For this, we're going to choose heading 6. Now I want you to highlight welcome to Atlas, and on my Mac, I'm going to choose Command D to duplicate. I'm going to give instructions here. To get started, sign up below. And I'm going to change this to a body. Okay, let's just sort out the alignment here. I'm going to click back into group signup, head over to the layout tab, choose horizontal alignment. Fantastic. Now we're in the center. Now these two pieces of text we can also horizontally align within this group signup on the layout tab. And then I'm also going to group them together. So group elements in a column container, top to bottom. I'm going to rename this to group title, and I'm going to keep renaming these groups. You'll thank me later for that. We can remove the mid height. And then let's add back some gap spacing. Let's try about 8 pixels, and that looks good. Let's grab some inputs. Drop it inside group signup. This will say full name. And I'm going to say that this input should not be empty. I definitely want to capture that. And I noticed we have incorrect padding on this input, so I'm going to edit the style on the standard input, head over to the layout tab, and choose 16 and 16 pixels. Okay, back on the layout tab of input fill name, I'm going to remove the fixed width, remove the min width, and change the fixed height to 44. Once you've done that, Command D, let's go to the next one. On the Appearance tab, change this to email. Content format for this will be email. Maybe say email address. Command D in my Mac to duplicate the email address. Now I need the password. And I'm going to change the content format to password. Now once I have these need to be closer in proximity. So I'm going to group them in a column. I'm going to rename this group to group inputs. And I'm going on the layout tab, I'm going to add some gap spacing of 8 pixels. You can see a bit of a design pattern that we have going here. We've got 20 pixels of row gap on the group signup. And then when elements need to be closer together for proximity purposes, we put them in another group, and then we choose 8 on the row gap. Let's grab a button. Drop that beneath the password. This will say sign up. Why don't we add a little right arrow here? So label an icon. Let's change the icon to arrow. Let's choose a right arrow. On the layout tab, I'm going to remove the fixed width, remove the min width, and keep the height fixed at 44. On the layout tab, let's just add this icon placement, adjust it so it's on the right hand side. Okay, looking good. Now we need a text element to drop beneath sign up. This will say log in. Going to change this to a body small, and on the layout tab I'm going to position it in the center. Okay, let's head back to group signup and just remove the min height so that the content within determines the height of group signup. Looking good, folks, looking good. On the authentication page element in the elements tree in the top left, let's go to the Appearance tab and let's change the color to surface. Okay, Then once you've done that, we can go back to group sign up and then give this a flat color, just so it pops off the screen. That looks really good. Let's add our little logo. So I'm going to grab a group. I'm going to drop the group inside Welcome to Atlas. I'm going to call this group logo. This is going to have a background style of flat color. It's going to be our primary color, of course. I'm going to change the roundness to 20. And then on the layout tab, I'm going to set a fixed width of 40 and a fixed height of 40. Then we can put that in the center using the horizontal alignment option. We can also make first, so it sits above the text, and let's now go ahead and grab an icon, just draw an icon inside, okay? Go ahead and type API. I thought this would be a fun little logo for this course. Change the color to white. And I'm going to edit the style of a standard icon because I want to remove the roundness. And on the layout tab, I also want to remove the padding. So I'm going to set the padding to 0 all the way around. Okay. Once you've done that, on the layout tab, we're going to choose size 24 by 24, choose the center, and then back on this group logo icon. Actually, we can change this to an align to parent now. And then from the icon, we can then select center. All right. And I suspect we'll be using this in other places. So I'm going to go ahead and say edit, convert to a reusable element, and call this logo. Then create. Set the background style back to solid with a blue and 20 on the roundness. Okay, let's head back to our authentication page. And great, so we've got this sign up. Fantastic. We also need the ability for users to be able to log in. And once we've done that, we're going to sign someone up and swiftly move on to the logic part of this course. So we're going to save ourselves some time here. I'm going to choose edit copy and paste. Put it beneath. You can see that it's overlapping. So I'm going to click on group section, head over to the layout tab and say fit height content. There we go, got some space. So let's rename the one at the bottom to login. And on welcome to Atlas, we can say welcome back to Atlas. Let's just say nice to see you again. And to log into an app, we don't need the name, we just need an email address and password. This button will now say login. And the text beneath will say sign up. Okay, so that is this page designed. Let's sort out some functionality so that we can switch between sign up and login, and then we'll configure both of the workflows and then get someone signed on and move on to the real juicy stuff, okay? All right, so both of these need to be hidden by default. So I'm going to scroll up to group sign up and I'm going to go to the layout tab and then choose not visible on page load and collapse when hidden. I want you to do the same for group login. On the layout tab, not visible on page load and collapse when hidden. Now I need some logic to determine when to show and hide these. So let's just use a state for that. So I'm going to add a workflow to the text login on group signup. I'm going to say set state under element actions. I'm going to set states to the page. This will be called view. I can name it anything I like. No one is able to see this except us. I'm going to call that, going to give that a state type of text. And I'm going to type the word login all lowercase. So when you do this, type login and then actually just click outside the box. Don't hit enter or return. Okay, so when login is clicked, we're setting a state to the page. The state is called view and the value is going to be login. So now we can go down to group login, and on the conditions tab, we can say fantastic. So find the page, it's called auth. Find the custom state at the bottom that we've just created called view, then say is, and then type with your keyboard, login. Okay, don't hit return, just click away so that it takes that piece of text. Now we can say that this element is visible, check. How do we get back to sign up, however? So let's go to sign up, click on the text, add a workflow, go down to element actions, set state. And for this one, I'm going to choose authentication as well. I'm going to find the same state again. And for this one, I'm going to type sign up. All lowercase, and click away for that to take. And then on the design tab, I'm going to scroll up to group sign up. It's not visible on page load, it's collapsed when hidden. I'm going to type auth to find the page element. I'm going to look for this custom state called view. And then I'm going to choose is sign up. Okay, that's when it's visible. Now, when the page is loaded, we obviously need a default state because something has to show. No one's, they won't be able to click anything because they can't see anything. So let's go back to the custom state that we set at page level at auth called view, and let's just key in a default value. So let's look at the element tree, bring up the property editor, and then let's click on this eye icon. And in here, we can set a default value to sign up. All case sensitive, remember? Let's preview the page. Okay, so there's our sign up form and there is our login form. Okay, with that done, let's just set up the basic workflows for signing up a user and logging a user in. So on the sign up button, we're going to add a workflow. We're going to find account, sign the user up. Now we just need to match these inputs. Now I suspect that we will need to come back into the editor and just rename some of these. So with input email address, just add sign up to the end of that, the name of it, and do the same to the password. Type sign up. Now we can identify these in the workflow section. Okay, scrolling down, looking for input email address sign up, the value, password, input password sign up, the value. And don't forget, we also have a full name. So change another field. Now we don't have any sort of data setup right now, aside from the built-in email and password that Bubble does for us. So we're going to add a new field. This will be called name. Okay, that will be text. Let's go ahead and create that. And now find the input so we can match the value. Input full names value. Okay, we'll come back and finish off this workflow when we have more pages because there are 2 other pages we need to create shortly. Let's just do the login one now. So scrolling down, guys, you can also expand out this elements tree and you can, hide the group sign up if you want. And the group login, show and hide. So for the login, let's add a workflow. Let's go to account, log the user in and just match up the input values here. So this is the input email address, the value, and then the password. Input password's value. All right, don't select the one to sign up. We're now logging a user in. Okay, folks, just some very basic preparation work that we've done there. Now we're going to actually sign up to Stripe and have a look around and have a discussion over how we actually create some of the products within Stripe. So here we are at stripe.com, and I suspect the large majority of you will already be Stripe users, so I'm not going to go over too much about what Stripe does, but you can just look at some of the logos here to see which companies are using Stripe for some of their payment processes. I mean, Amazon, Google, Shopify, some of the biggest companies in the world. If you have an existing account with Stripe, you can go ahead and use that account for this particular course. If you don't, go ahead, sign up to Stripe, and I'll see you in the dashboard. Now, you need to use your real email address, your real name here. No test data. If you use test data in this process, Stripe will close your account. Okay, so real information, please. Okay, creating an account. So we have a toggle at the top here between test mode and live mode. And just like Bubble, there is a live version of Stripe and a test version of Stripe. In this course, we're just going to be using the test version, but we'll also talk about how we transition from a test version to a live version. It's the same as Bubble. We build in test first, we test out functionality. Once we're ready to deploy our app, that's when we're ready to basically move to the live environment. So the main piece of information that we need to actually get started on our integration is a secret key. And the secret key is down here, and the secret key is currently hidden. We don't need it right now, I'm just showing you where it is. But also in the developer section, we'll be working here quite a lot, and you can also find your API key in this section here. Here is your secret key. What we're going to do now in the next section is build a pricing page, okay? And that pricing page needs to be able to communicate with the Stripe products that we're going to create after we create the pricing page. Let's jump back into Bubble and start building this page. So go ahead and create a new page. Call this pricing. In the design tab, let's just bring up the property editor, change the page title to pricing. And I'm going to use Atlas after the pipe icon. On the layout tab, I'm going to change it to a column. 1200 builder width. I'm going to set container alignment to the center for this, just so the content sits in the center. Then I'm also going to add a group section like we did previously on the authentication page. This is called group section. There is no min width, and when I uncheck fit height to content, it spans the full height of this page. Going to remove the min height because it's not a value that I'm using. I'm going to add 96 and 96 top and bottom padding, 32 and 32 left right padding. And then back on the elements tree on pricing, I'm going to just add some color of surface. And before we design anything, let's actually have a look at our pricing page and these neat little pricing cards that I've got in store for you. So because we are dealing with SaaS payments, we're going to be creating subscription-based logic. And we have 3 options for a person to sign up with. It can be a $20 starter plan that is monthly. We have a growth plan and we have a yearly plan as well. And then we've got a little features list beneath each section. And we're going to be using an option set first to set some data that we can use. That option set will then feed into a repeating group. And after that, we'll set up the workflows and logic to be able to communicate with Stripe. Let's head back to our Bubble app. Let's go to the Data tab and then Option Sets. We're going to skip the tutorial for this, and we're going to just jump straight in. We're going to call this Plan. And if you would like to jump ahead here, I'd actually advise not to, because there are some valuable lessons. But in terms of setting up the data here, you can actually jump into my app with the link in the description. You can right-click, copy plan, and actually paste it into your app. We're going to have three options here. Starter plan, growth plan, and yearly plan. Now each plan needs an amount. To set an individual amount attached to each plan, we're going to add some attributes. Call the first attribute name amount, and let's use a number. Go ahead and create that. Let's also attach a description to each plan. That is text, create. Now we need two other attributes here. Products in Stripe have price IDs associated with them, much like unique IDs for things in Bubble. We need to save those price IDs to an option set so that we can effectively build our workflows to communicate with the correct pricing plans. And we'll be using IDs to also identify subscriptions, payments, events, and so forth. Now a little word on security. Option set data is public, meaning that the information is in the code base on the client side and is accessible by anyone. There is not much a user can do with our price IDs other than pay us for a subscription, but do make sure not to use option sets for private information such as saving API keys, passwords, or any kind of data that you deem sensitive. So let's do this. Type ID in all caps, and then price test. That's going to be text. Then also we're going to have a live ID, because I talked about the live and the test versions of Stripe. It's exactly the same as Bubble. We have test and we have live, okay? ID price live, and that is text. In this course, we're only going to be dealing with test, but I'd like to also demonstrate how to work with live IDs. So let's modify attributes on the starter plan first. And for the description, let's say for small teams getting started. And the amount will be $20 US. Just going to type 20, I'll deal with the formatting later. Don't know what the IDs are because that's something that we actually need to go back to Stripe and set up. I'm going to save in the interim. Going to head down to growth. Let's type for growing startups, ready to scale. Let's just set the amount to $50. Save, modify attributes on the yearly plan. And we have some fun with this one. I'm going to say lifting the lid on productivity. Let's say this is 400 USD per year. Go ahead and save that. So with our starter, growth, and yearly plans configured, we can now start creating our repeating group and then feeding through these data into these individual pricing cards. Okay, let's go back to the design tab. Click on group section. And I wanted to set a max width ongroup section of 1200 and then place that in the center. Now we can go grab our repeating group in the container section, drop that in. Let's first go to the appearance. The type of content will be plan, and the data source is basically all plan. Number of rows will be 1, and the number of columns will be 3. We're not dealing with responsive design too much. We are applying principles of responsive design, but this is really a logic-based course. I just want to get some UI set up so we can start interacting with it. On the separators, set the width to 24 and then set the color to the same as the background color, which is surface. On the layout tab, you can remove the min width. Let's set the height to 360 for now. This is just guesswork. Let's now grab a group, please, and draw it in the first cell. Now, I remember saying to myself earlier that when we're in the authentication page, please navigate to the auth page, that I wanted to save a style. The style I want to save is group sign up. This particular group with the border, with the radius, let's create a new style for this. I'm going to call that card medium because I want a consistent style throughout this app build, okay? Then I'm going to go back to group pricing and reveal my group B, and then change the style to card medium. There you go. I'm going to rename this to group card, and on the layout tab, remove the min width, and I'm going to keep fit height to content checked. I'm going to also add 360 here. I can see that the repeating group has a border, so I'm clicking back on the repeating group just so I can go ahead and remove the border. Fantastic. So let's grab some text. Let's drop it in. And we're going to feed through some dynamic data. And I know what it's going to ask me for is the data source, because on this group card, we do need to set this to a plan and the parent group's plan, or the current cell's plan, excuse me. Now that we've fed the data source from the cell, we can access that here. This is going to be the plans display. So it's going to say starter basically. Let's add a canvas placeholder so the design looks more realistic as we're building. This is just static in place of this expression. Okay, I'm going to make this body small. And I'm going to make this slightly bolder. So let's choose semi-bold. Actually, let's go back to body large and choose semi-bold. And maybe make this black. I'm not creating a style for this. This is the only time I'm designing text like this. I'm going to press Command D on my Mac to duplicate starter. And this will basically be the pricing. So I'm going to choose amount, parent group's plans amount, format it as, and I'm going to choose my own currency choice for this app, which is USD. Could choose sterling, British pounds, whatever I like. But let's use US dollars. It's universal. I'm going to type 400 in here as a placeholder. And then I'm going to just have a look at these styles available to us. So I think heading 3 will work nicely for this. Going to duplicate this text again using Command D. This is going to be the description. I'm going to remove the canvas placeholder. And I'm going to change this to body small. Okay, on the layout tab, let's just make sure that this is not fit with content. I want that to span edge to edge. Beneath that, we need a button. So I'm grabbing a button from the visual elements, dropping that in. Let's do a label and icon. Again, let's use the arrow here. Right arrow. And this is our primary button, fantastic. Let's say get started here. On the layout tab, I'm going to let this button span edge to edge. And it will be 44 pixels. We can actually fix that. That never needs to change. We're going to move the icon placement to the right-hand side. Now I want you to grab some more text, drop it in. We're just going to add something that I know will improve the conversion for us. And that is just some little text that lets a user know if you want to cancel your plan, it's a straightforward process. And it always should be a straightforward process. This leads to high conversion, that's proven. And this is something that I make sure that I include on all of my pricing pages. We're going to type the text, you can cancel at any time. Very simple. Let's try body small for this. Looking good. So group card is looking a bit sort of squished. So on the layout tab of group card, I'm going to add some row gap of 16 pixels. Fantastic. So now we need a list of features. And this list of features we're going to create in the options set area and then associate that feature list with the plan. So let's head back into the data section, options sets, and I'm going to create one called plan features. Or plan feature. Okay, if you want to save yourself some time, jump into my editor, right click on plan feature, copy, and then paste into your wrap. If not, follow along. Now all we're doing is selling the benefits of each plan for starter, growth, and yearly. So this will be a little bit repetitive, but it'll just take a couple of minutes. I'm going to say one team member. And I'm going to create a new attribute. Call this plan because we're going to associate each feature with a plan. Plan is a plan, create. So basically we can go to modify attributes, and then for this particular option, I'm going to choose starter. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just fast forward this section. You'll see me build it very quickly, but you can jump into my app and see how I've associated these with basically each plan. Okay, with that done, let's jump back onto the pricing page and use a repeating group to display these options. I'm going to grab some text, drop this in. I'm going to type features in all caps. I'm going to choose body small, and I'm going to change the boldness to semi-bold. Now I'm going to find a repeating group. Drop that in. The type of content will be a plan feature. And the data source will be all plan features filtered. Okay, so we're going to say this plan's features plan. Okay, plan is a plan. Is parent group's plan. Because the parent group's plan exists in this group card. Okay, so we're matching a plan with a plan. Okay, I'm going to add a little icon inside this first cell. I'm going to type the word check. I'm going to change the icon color to green. In actual fact, I would like not an outline, but a filled check icon. I'm going to change the size to 20 by 20. And now we need some text. So I'm grabbing some text, dropping it in. This is simply going to be the current cell's plan features display. Okay. For that, we're going to use body small. So now with these two, I'm going to highlight them, check icon and the text, right click, group elements in a row container. Then on the layout tab, let's just create some separation here. Let's use 12. Now we've got 60 on the min height by default. Change that to 0. Then what I'd also like you to do, back on the repeating group plan, is remove the min width, remove the min height. Okay, almost there. So we need 3 rows. And we need some space. So let's try 12 first of all, and set the color to white. Okay, so I want some separation, and before we do that, let's just remove the border from this repeating group. Okay, so now we need to take the word features and this repeating group, right click, group elements in a column container, call this group features. And separation in here, let's choose 12. Fantastic. Now I want a little line that separates features from this top section. So what I'm going to do is on group features, I'm going to add some top padding, 20, like that. And then I'm going to add a border. So back on the appearance tab, I'm going to check to define each border independently, and then choose a solid top border of our light gray. All right, folks. So a lot of design work we've done here. Let's now preview this page. Looking really professional. What I might do is just center align this text so it sits beneath this button in the center. And then obviously we need a title and a few other bits and pieces. Let's now grab some text and drop it in group section above the repeating group. I'm going to type flexible and transparent pricing. I'm going to use the ampersand here to keep it shorter. Let's try a heading 3 here, maybe even larger, why not? Heading 2, there you go. I'm going to center align that. I'm going to grab some more text, drop it between these two. I'm going to say, select a subscription plan to fit the needs of your business. Body is fine. Let's put that in the center as well. And then I need a little badge icon up here that just says pricing. I'm going to grab some text, drop it on top. You type the word pricing. Let's just do some little design work here. So body small. I'm going to choose semi-bold. I'm going to change the font color to blue. And then what I'm going to do is this. The background style, I'm actually going to apply a flat color here of our blue. I'm going to change the opacity of the background color to 10%. Then I'm going to add some padding. So top padding 4, bottom padding 4, left, right 10 and 10. So it's a neat little badge icon here. Put that in the center. And then let's add some radius here. So back on the appearance tab of text pricing, I'm going to type 20. Okay, so obviously we need, for proximity reasons, we need these in their own group. So I'm going to highlight all 3, group in a column. This is the header section. That will have some gap. Let's choose 12. And then finally on the page itself, let's choose gap spacing. I'm going to choose 48 for that. Okay. Back on group section, before we close up this particular part, just choose fit height to content, because I could see some overlap happening here. There you go. Beautiful. Let's preview the page one more time. Let's refresh. Look at that, guys. Fantastic. I was going to center align this. So the last thing I'm going to do is, if I just remove the fit width to content of that text and then choose horizontal alignment in the center. All right, guys, so we've made excellent progress. We're going to move on to some database structure stuff, and then we'll move on to the Stripe configuration after that. All right, folks, we've done a lot of design work. Let's now work on the data structure. So we need to create a subscription data type, which we'll do first. Then we're going to do some Stripe logic, some Stripe configuration, and then later on we're going to create another data type called a payment. Let's jump in. Let's head over to the data type, please. And let's create one called subscription. So we need to be able to associate a subscription with a user. Usually the way we do it in Bubble is by referencing the creator field, which is built in. However, subscriptions are going to be created in the backend. So we won't have a creator associated with that subscription. Instead, we're going to create a new field called a user and associate it that way. So create a new field. Field name is user, and that is a user. A subscription needs a plan. Okay, and plans and subscriptions are slightly different in that plans are what we have here. So just outlining what the plans are. But what a subscription does is package together the plans with the user and with the various fields to be able to communicate directly with Stripe. So we're going to add plan. That is of type plan on the option set. We're going to add another one called active. This is just going to be a yes/no field. And so when it comes to provisioning access to the software, we're always going to be checking a current user's subscription is active. If it's active, well, then you provision the software. If it's not active, well, then you restrict access to the software. So there's only one way of doing it, and this is the route we're taking. We're going to add two ID fields. So this is ID subscription. And this ID we are going to be getting from Stripe directly. That is going to be of type text. Now, when a person first subscribes to a plan, Stripe is also going to give that user an ID. Now we need to save that back to Bubble. So this is ID customer. That's all we're going to do for now. Because we've created this data type subscription, I'm also going to add it to a user so that we can access the current user's subscription. I talked about the ID that Stripe creates and assigns to the user. We've got that saved on a subscription. We also need to save that back to a user as well. So now this is on the user data type, okay? So 3 on the user data type, 5 on the subscription. Now currently a subscription is publicly visible. I'm going to click on that. I'll be taken to the privacy tab. And much like a user is restricted, user's own data, we're going to do the same for a subscription. So type users subscription. When this subscription's user is current user. That's when we can view all fields, find in searches, view attached files. Everyone else shouldn't have access to this user's subscription. Okay, so with the database set up, let's head into Stripe because we actually need to create the 3 plans: starter, growth, and yearly plans. Much like we did in the option set, we need to go ahead and create that in Stripe as well. Okay, let's head over to the More option on the left-hand side and then go and find Product Catalog. And this says create listings for goods or services. Go ahead and create that. And what we're going to do is go ahead and create a product. Now this is going to be identical to what we created in our option set, but it will produce some price IDs that we're going to copy and save back to our option set. So the name of the first plan was called Starter. And the description for this was for small teams getting started. Now we have the option to upload an image if we'd like. This can also be dynamic, but we're going to leave that out. We have some more options down here, such as how you would like this transaction to appear in a user's bank account, statement descriptor, and some various other options. For now, we're just going to head down, select recurring, because this is a subscription, a recurring monthly payment. I'd like you to change this to US dollars, please. And then type 20. And make sure that the billing period is monthly. We will create one with a yearly option down here. We have more pricing options and different pricing models up here. Feel free to explore those in your own time. For now, let's go back. Sometimes when you go back, it does change the currency. So I'm just going to make sure that it is set to US dollars. I just wanted to show you the various options available to us. For the sake of this course, we're going to keep it simple. Starter plan, $20 per month. And that's it. We're going to add product. Okay, so we can see that we have the starter name, we have the price, and we have the created date. I'm going to click that and I'd like you to do the same. Now we have a price here. And if I scroll to the right-hand side and I click these 3 dots, I can copy the price ID, which I'm going to do. Now, let's just think about this logically. We have a starter plan, we have a growth plan, and we have a yearly plan. And all of them have different feature sets. We're going to determine that in Bubble itself. But we can also set up these features in Stripe if we wanted to display them back to a user, but we are already displaying them. So we're going to keep the Stripe implementation fairly simple, do some logic in Bubble to cover this particular requirement. Now, what we're calling a plan, Stripe calls a product. So it's the same thing, okay? And the products in Stripe, such as the starter, it can have multiple prices. So think about something that you signed up to recently, a particular service that you've signed up to. It gave you maybe a toggle to a monthly or a discount on a yearly plan. So in that instance, a starter plan or growth plan, if you toggled between monthly and yearly, it would come with 2 different prices. So in Stripe, we can actually configure 2 different prices and set up some UI interaction to actually make a toggle like that work. We're not going to do it. We're going to keep it fairly simple. 1 plan with 1 price, but just to let you know, you can set up as many prices as you'd like per product in Stripe. So please go ahead and copy your price ID. Now we're in the test, okay? You're using test data. There's a toggle here to switch across to live. When it's time to switch across to live, we would do that and copy across these products, but we would have a new ID. So back in Bubble, after you've copied that price ID, head to your option set, find your starter plan and select modify attributes. And now we can paste in our test price. Okay, it should start with the word price. And here is the live price ID, so they would be different. Go ahead and save that. Let's go back to Stripe and set up two new products, one called Growth and one called Yearly. I'm going to go back to products. And by the way, we've got a shortcut here now created. I'm actually going to pin this shortcut, so it just remains in the shortcut area. I'm going to add a new product. This one will be called Growth. For growing startups ready to scale, okay, I'm going to change my currency to US dollars, select 50, and then add product. So let's click into the growth product and then find the price and copy the price ID. And then let's go back to Bubble and paste that into the price ID attribute. Here is growth, modify attributes, and find the test. Don't paste this into live because you'll have problems. Go ahead and save that. Back to Stripe. Click across to products and let's create one more product. This is going to be called a Yearly. The description is lifting the lid on productivity. That is recurring, US dollars, 400 for this one, and then add product. I'm going to go find the price ID, copy, back to Bubble, modify attributes, paste in to the field for ID price test, and then save. Okay, so fairly straightforward. I'll leave you to have a dig around in the product area. Look, there's a lot of functionality. We could turn this course into a week-long non-stop if we wanted to, but I really want to talk about how to get our Bubble app to communicate with Stripe by sending data to Stripe and receiving data back from Stripe. So let's move on now to creating a custom API connector integration.